Billionaire CEO bet poor janitor couldn't carry her 25 floors. His request shocked her completely. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Romance Rewind Stories. Before we dive into today's incredible story, I have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying these heartwarming tales, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. It's quick, it's free, and it's the best way to support us in bringing you more emotional romance stories. And here's something I'd love to know. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I always enjoy seeing our amazing community from around the world. Oh, and if this story touches your heart, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps us grow and reach more people who love these kinds of tales. Now, let's get into today's story. Female CEO bet poor janitor couldn't carry her 25 floors. His request shocked her completely. The lights went out across the entire Sterling Tower at exactly 8:47 a.m., plunging 30 floors of glass and steel into complete darkness. Emergency lighting flickered weakly in the stairwells, but the elevators were dead. Marlo Sterling stood in the lobby, staring up at the dark building with pure frustration. At 39, she'd clawed her way to CEO of Sterling Financial after her ex-husband tried to steal the company during their divorce. She'd fought tooth and nail to prove she deserved the position, and today of all days, she had the most important investor meeting of her career in exactly 40 minutes. On the 25th floor, Miss Sterling, a voice came from behind her. The power company says it could be 2 hours before they restore electricity. Lightning strike took out the main transformer. Marlo turned to find Jackson Rivera, the building's night janitor, still there despite his shift having ended an hour ago. He was probably 35, with the kind of build that came from real physical work, broad shoulders, strong arms, a body that spoke of manual labor rather than gym memberships. His uniform was simple, worn but clean. She'd seen him around for the past year, always working quietly, never bothering anyone. She didn't know anything about him beyond his name on the maintenance schedule. 2 hours, Marlo repeated, her mind racing. I can't wait 2 hours. This meeting determines whether Sterling Financial survives the next quarter. Then you'll have to climb, Jackson said simply, gesturing toward the emergency stairwell. In these. Marlo looked down at her 4-inch Louboutins. Impossible. I'd break my ankle by floor 10. Take them off. The stairs are filthy. I'm not climbing 25 floors barefoot in a designer suit. Jackson studied her for a moment, something calculating in his dark eyes. I could carry you. Marlo laughed. Actually laughed. You're joking. I'm not. I was Army infantry for 8 years before this job. Carried full gear and wounded soldiers through worse than a clean stairwell. 25 floors with you would be easy. I'm not some damsel in distress who needs rescuing, Marlo said sharply. I'm a CEO. I know exactly who you are, Miss Sterling, Jackson replied, his voice calm. You're also someone who needs to get to the 25th floor in 38 minutes. I'm offering a solution. Take it or don't. Something about his directness intrigued her. Most people, especially men, either cowered around her or tried to dominate. Jackson did neither. He simply stated facts. Fine, Marlo said, making a decision. If you can actually carry me 25 floors without stopping, I'll grant you one request. Anything within reason. Consider it payment for services rendered. Anything? Jackson asked, and something flickered in his expression. Within reason, Marlo emphasized. I'm not signing over my company or anything insane. Deal. Jackson knelt down, gesturing to his back. Piggyback is most efficient for stairs. Wrap your arms around my shoulders, hold on tight, and don't let go until we reach 25. Marlo hesitated. When was the last time she'd been this physically close to a man? Her ex-husband had been gone for 3 years, and she'd dated exactly 0 people since. Work consumed everything. She climbed onto Jackson's back, her arms wrapping around his shoulders, her body pressed against his. He stood easily. She barely registered on his strength and adjusted her weight. Comfortable? He asked. As comfortable as one can be riding piggyback in a Chanel suit, Marlowe replied dryly. Then let's go. They entered the stairwell, and Jackson began climbing. Floor 1 passed easily. His breathing was steady, controlled, his pace measured. You really were military? Marlowe asked, trying to distract herself from how aware she was of his body, the warmth of him, the solid strength of his shoulders, the easy way he carried her weight. 8 years, infantry specialist, Iraq, Afghanistan, places I can't talk about. Why did you leave? My daughter was born. My wife, ex-wife now, she couldn't handle the deployments, said it was her or the army. Jackson's voice was neutral, but Marlowe heard the pain underneath. I chose my daughter. Came home, got a job with steady hours and decent benefits. Turned out my wife wanted the military paycheck and status, not the actual husband. She left 6 months after I got out. I'm sorry, Marlowe said, genuinely meaning it. Don't be. I got Lucia out of it. She's 7 now, worth every sacrifice. Floor 5. Jackson hadn't even broken a sweat. What about you? He asked. Why does the CEO of Sterling Financial work until midnight most nights? How do you know I work that late? Marlowe asked, surprised. I'm the night janitor. I clean your office around 11 p.m. You're always still there, working through dinner, taking calls, reviewing documents. He paused. You work harder than anyone in this building. Why? Because I have to prove I deserve to be here, Marlowe admitted, surprised by her own honesty. My ex-husband tried to take the company from me during our divorce, said I was just a figurehead, that he'd done all the real work. The board actually considered siding with him. But they didn't, because I showed them financials proving I'd been carrying his dead weight for years. I won the company, but I lost the trust. Every decision is questioned. Every success is attributed to luck or my late father's foundation. Nothing I do is ever enough to prove I'm capable. Floor 10, halfway. Jackson paused to drink water from a bottle he'd stashed in the stairwell. Clearly, he'd prepared for this. You plan ahead, Marlowe observed. Old military habit. Always have supplies. Never assume things will go smoothly. Smart. They continued climbing. Marlowe found herself noticing details she'd never noticed before. The way Jackson's breathing stayed controlled, the gentle adjustments he made to keep her comfortable, the quiet strength in every movement. Tell me about Lucia, she said. She's brilliant, wants to be a marine biologist, has a massive collection of ocean animal facts that she shares constantly. Last week she spent 40 minutes explaining the mating habits of seahorses to my mother. Marlowe actually laughed, something she rarely did. That sounds adorable and exhausting. Pretty much sums up parenting. Adorable, exhausting, terrifying, wonderful, all at once. He glanced back at her. Do you have kids? No. My ex didn't want them. Said they'd interfere with business. After the divorce, I threw myself into work instead. Regrets? Sometimes, Marlowe admitted quietly. I'm 39. The window's closing. But I can't imagine bringing a child into my life right now. I barely have time to sleep, let alone parent. That's not living. That's surviving. Welcome to being CEO. Floor 15. Jackson's pace had slowed slightly, but he showed no signs of stopping. Can I ask you something? He said. Go ahead. Why do you let them make you feel like you have to prove yourself? You've tripled company revenue in 3 years. Employee retention is at an all-time high. You've personally mentored a dozen young women into leadership positions. The numbers don't lie, Ms. Sterling. You're exceptional. Marlowe felt something crack in her chest. How do you know all that? I read business journals, company reports. I might be a janitor, but I'm not ignorant. He paused. You want to know what I think? Apparently, I think you're so busy proving yourself to people who will never respect you because they're intimidated by your competence that you've forgotten to respect yourself. You've let their doubt become your doubt. That's not... Marlowe started, then stopped. Because he was right, completely, devastatingly right. Floor 17. You're going to make it, Marlowe said, surprised. You're actually going to carry me 25 floors. Told you. I don't make promises I can't keep. So what's your request going to be? Your anything within reason? You'll find out at floor 25. Floor 19. Marlowe's arms were tired from holding on, but Jackson's strength seemed endless. Jackson, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever regret leaving the military? Giving up your career for your daughter? Every day and never, he said. I miss the purpose, the brotherhood, the mission. But then, Lucia runs to me after school, tells me about her day, falls asleep on my shoulder during movies, and I know I made the right choice. She needed a parent who was actually present. That's worth more than any medal or rank. You're a good father. I try, but Miss Sterling, you'd be a good mother too if you gave yourself permission to be. How could you possibly know that? Because good leaders make good parents. You care about your employees. You listen. You make tough decisions, but explain them. You create environments where people can succeed. That's parenting, just with adults instead of kids. Floor 22. Almost there. 3 more floors, Marlowe said. Then you can put me down and tell me what impossible request you're going to make. It's not impossible, Jackson said. Just unexpected. Floor 23. Jackson's breathing was heavier now, but still controlled. Do you know what I noticed about you, Miss Sterling? He said. What? You arrive before anyone else. You leave after everyone's gone. You eat lunch at your desk. You take business calls during your commute. When do you actually live? I live just fine. No, you work. There's a difference. When was the last time you did something just for yourself? Not for the company, not to prove anything, just because it made you happy, Marlowe thought. Couldn't remember. Exactly, Jackson said. Floor 24. 1 more to go. You know what else I noticed? He continued. You've never once been rude to me. Most executives don't even see janitors. We're invisible, but you always say good morning when you arrive early, and I'm still finishing my shift. You thank me when I clean your office. You asked about my daughter once when you saw her photo on my cart. Small things, maybe, but they told me you're not who you pretend to be. And who do I pretend to be? Marlowe asked quietly. The Ice Queen. Untouchable, emotionless, all business, but that's armor, not reality. Underneath, you're just someone who's been hurt and is trying not to get hurt again. Floor 25. Jackson stopped at the top, breathing only slightly harder than when they'd started. He knelt down, letting Marlowe slide off his back. She stood on shaky legs, amazed. You actually did it. 25 floors without stopping. Told you. Jackson stood facing her. So now you owe me one request. What is it? Marlowe asked, half afraid of the answer. Have coffee with me, tonight after you finish work. Not as CEO and janitor, just as Marlowe and Jackson, 2 people getting to know each other. Marlowe blinked. That's what you want? A coffee date? Yes. Why? Because in 1 year of working in this building, you're the only executive who's treated me like a human being. Because I've watched you work yourself to exhaustion, and I want to show you what it looks like to actually relax. Because when I'm carrying you, I felt you let go of all that armor for just a moment, and I want to see more of that real Marlowe. The one who laughed at my daughter's seahorse facts. The one who's vulnerable enough to admit she's lonely. This is highly inappropriate, Marlowe protested. You're building staff. I'm CEO. There are rules. Are there? Show me the rule that says 2 adults can't have coffee. It complicates things. Life is already complicated. This just makes it interesting. Marlowe looked at Jackson, really looked at him, saw the genuine interest in his eyes, the hope, the vulnerability of asking. When was the last time someone had wanted to spend time with her just because? Not for business, not for connections, just her. 1 coffee, she agreed. But Jackson, I'm not promising anything beyond that. I'm not asking for promises. Just a chance. Fine. There's a cafe 2 blocks from here. I'll meet you there at 7. I'll be there, Jackson said, and his smile transformed his entire face. That evening, Marlowe left the office at 6:45, the earliest she'd left in months. Her assistant actually did a double-take. "Ms. Sterling, is everything okay? You never leave before 9. "I have plans," Marlowe said, feeling awkward saying it out loud. At the cafe, Jackson was already waiting, standing outside in clean jeans and a button-down shirt instead of his janitor's uniform. He looked good, really good. "You're early," Marlowe observed. "Military habit, always 15 minutes early." "I'm early too." "CEO habit?" "Something like that." They got coffee and found a quiet corner table. For the first few minutes, they sat in awkward silence. Then Jackson said, "Tell me about something other than work. Anything, a hobby, a dream, something you love." "I don't have hobbies," Marlowe admitted. "Work consumes everything." "Then tell me about before work consumed everything. Who were you before you became CEO?" So Marlowe talked about studying art history in college before her father pressured her into business school, about loving to paint, to visit museums, to lose herself in colors and creativity, about the gallery owner she'd dated briefly who'd encouraged her art until her father had made it clear that Sterling heirs didn't waste time on frivolous pursuits. "Do you still paint?" Jackson asked. "I haven't touched a brush in 15 years. "That's sad. That's reality. Reality is what you make it. Marlowe, you could paint again if you wanted to. You just choose not to." "I don't have time." "You have the same 24 hours as everyone else. You just allocate them differently." He leaned forward. "What if you allocated some of those hours to yourself, to things that make you happy instead of things that prove your worth?" "Why do you care so much about my happiness?" Marlowe asked, frustrated. "You barely know me." "Because I recognize the signs. I did the same thing after my divorce, worked myself to death to prove I was valuable, that my ex-wife was wrong to leave. It took my mother physically dragging me to therapy for me to realize I was trying to fill a void with productivity. Didn't work, still doesn't work. The only thing that worked was learning to value myself again." "And how did you do that?" "Therapy, time with Lucia, picking up old hobbies. I used to build model ships, started doing that again, making time for things that weren't about proving anything to anyone." He paused. "Marlowe, you've already proven yourself. The people who matter, your employees, your clients, the investors who keep choosing to work with you, they already see your value. The board members who don't, they never will, no matter how hard you work. So stop performing for them and start living for you." Marlowe felt tears threaten, which was ridiculous. She never cried. "You make it sound so simple." "It's not simple, it's terrifying, but it's necessary. And Marlowe, you don't have to do it alone." "What are you suggesting?" "Let me help. Let me show you what balance looks like. More coffee dates, maybe dinner, activities that aren't work-related. No pressure, no expectations. Just 2 people figuring out how to live instead of just survive." "You're asking me out. For real." "I'm asking for a chance. That's all. 1 coffee became 2 hours of conversation. Let's see what happens if we keep going." Marlowe looked at Jackson, at his earnest expression, his genuine interest, his quiet strength, and made a decision that terrified her. "More coffee, more dinners, more whatever this is." "This is 2 people connecting," Jackson said, taking her hand across the table. "That's all it needs to be right now." Over the next 3 months, Marlowe and Jackson fell into a rhythm. They kept their relationship quiet at work. He was still the janitor, she was still CEO, and Marlowe wasn't ready for the gossip and judgment that would follow if people knew. But outside work, they built something real. Jackson took her to art supply stores, encouraged her to start painting again. Marlowe found herself creating on weekends, rediscovering a passion she'd buried for years. "This is really good," Jackson said, studying a landscape she'd painted. "You have talent. It's rusty. You're beautiful when you paint. Your whole face lights up." Marlowe met Lucia 3 months into dating. The little girl studied her seriously over pizza. "Are you my dad's girlfriend?" Lucia asked bluntly. "We're seeing each other, yes," Marlowe said, glancing at Jackson for help. "Good. Dad needs someone smart." "Are you smart?" "I think so. What's your favorite ocean animal?" "Dolphins." Lucia's face lit up. "Dolphins are amazing. Did you know they have names for each other? They use signature whistles." "I didn't know that," Marlowe admitted, charmed despite herself. "Most people don't. But it's important." Lucia turned to her father. "I like her. She can stay." "Glad I have your approval, Mija," Jackson said, laughing. After Lucia went to bed, Jackson found Marlowe on his small apartment balcony. "You okay?" he asked. "Your daughter is incredible." "She liked you. That's huge. Lucia doesn't warm up to people easily." "I liked her too. She's bright and curious and fearless." "Like someone else I know," Jackson said, pulling Marlowe close. "I'm not fearless." "You are. You just don't see it. Marlowe, you run a company. You stood up to a board of men who tried to push you out. You're learning to paint again despite years of being told it was worthless. That's courage." "It doesn't feel courageous. It feels terrifying. Courage and terror usually go together, but you're doing it anyway. That's what matters." 4 months into their relationship, everything fell apart. A board member saw Marlowe and Jackson having dinner, took photos, and distributed them to the entire board with a scathing memo about inappropriate relationships with building staff. The board called an emergency meeting. Marlowe sat at the head of the table, fury and fear warring in her chest. "Miss Sterling, these photos show you in what appears to be a romantic relationship with a janitor." The board chairman's disdain was evident. "His name is Jackson Rivera, and yes, we're in a relationship. This is completely inappropriate. It reflects poorly on the company." "How?" Marlowe interrupted. "Two adults in a consensual relationship reflect poorly how?" "He's building staff. You're CEO. The optics are terrible." "The optics are only terrible if you make them terrible. Jackson and I have maintained complete professionalism at work. Our personal relationship has zero impact on business operations. Nevertheless, this relationship needs to end immediately, or we'll be forced to terminate Mr. Rivera's employment." Marlowe felt rage ignite. "You're threatening to fire him because I'm dating him. We're protecting the company's reputation." "No, you're punishing me for being a woman who dares to have a personal life. If I were a male CEO dating someone, you wouldn't say a word. That's not—" "It absolutely is, and I'm done playing by your double standards." Marlowe stood. "Here's what's going to happen. Jackson and I will continue our relationship. If you fire him, I'll sue this company for discrimination and make every sexist, toxic thing this board has done over the past 3 years public. I have documentation. I have witnesses. Try me." The room went silent. "Ms. Sterling, you're being unreasonable. I'm being a human being who deserves a personal life, something you all take for granted. Now either accept that I'm dating Jackson and move on, or prepare for a very public legal battle. Your choice." She walked out without waiting for a response. That night Marlowe showed up at Jackson's apartment, shaking. "I told them," she said when he opened the door. "I told the board about us, and threatened to sue if they fire you, and I don't know if I made things worse or better, but I couldn't let them." Jackson pulled her inside, held her while she cried. "You stood up for us," he said quietly. "That took incredible courage. They might fire me, or you, or both of us. Then we'll figure it out. Marlowe, I'm not going anywhere. Whatever happens, we face it together." The board backed down. Partly because Marlowe's legal threat was real, partly because they knew firing her would tank the company. But the whispers started, judgmental looks, snide comments about the CEO slumming it with the janitor. Marlowe endured it with her head high. Jackson handled it with his usual quiet strength. "Let them talk," he said. Words can't hurt us if we don't let them. 6 months after that first stairwell climb, Jackson proposed. Not with an expensive ring, but with something better. A painting. He'd commissioned a local artist to create a piece based on Marlowe's description of her favorite memory, watching the sunset from a beach in Greece during college. "I can't give you expensive jewelry," Jackson said, as Marlowe stared at the painting through tears. "But I can give you this, a reminder that you deserve beautiful things, beautiful moments. And Marlowe, I want to spend my life creating those moments with you. Will you marry me?" "Yes," Marlowe said, not even hesitating. 1,000 times, yes. "Even though I'm just a janitor." "You're not just anything, you're Jackson, the man who carried me 25 floors and then carried me back to myself. That's everything." Their wedding was small, Lucia as flower girl, Jackson's mother, and Marlowe's best friend as witnesses. No board members invited, no business associates, just people who actually mattered. "Marlowe, you look beautiful," Jackson said when he saw her in a simple white dress. "You clean up pretty well yourself," Marlowe replied, adjusting his tie. Lucia tugged on Marlowe's dress. "Are you going to be my mom now?" "If you want me to be." "I do, because you're already good at it. You come to my school plays and you help with homework and you listen to my fish facts even when they're boring." "They're never boring," Marlowe said honestly. At the reception, Jackson's mother pulled Marlowe aside. "Thank you for making my son smile again. After his divorce, I worried he'd forgotten how. He makes me smile too. I'd forgotten how as well. Then you're perfect for each other." A year into marriage, Marlowe made a major decision. She stepped down as CEO of Sterling Financial, moving into a chairman role that required less day-to-day involvement. "Are you sure?" Jackson asked when she told him. "Completely. I've proven what I needed to prove. Now I want to actually live. Spend time with you and Lucia. Paint. Travel. Be a person instead of just a position. The board will think you're weak. I don't care what they think anymore. I care what I think, and I think I deserve a life." 2 years after that power outage, Marlowe stood with Jackson and Lucia at the bottom of Sterling Tower. The lights were on, the elevators working. "Want to take the elevator?" Jackson asked. "Actually," Marlowe said, "let's take the stairs, for old time's sake." They climbed together, all 3 of them this time. Lucia complained by floor 10. "Why are we doing this again?" she asked. "Because this is where your dad and I fell in love," Marlowe explained. "In a stairwell? That's weird." "Love is weird," Jackson said, winking at Marlowe. Floor 25. They reached the top together. "You know what I learned that day?" Marlowe said to Jackson. "When you carried me up these stairs?" "What?" "That being strong doesn't mean doing everything alone. Sometimes it means letting someone carry you, and then carrying them back when they need it." "That's what we do," Jackson agreed, pulling her close. "Forever." And as they stood at the top of those 25 floors, with Lucia rolling her eyes at their mushiness, Marlowe thought about that morning 1 year ago. She'd been desperate, frustrated, focused only on a meeting. She'd had no idea that letting a janitor carry her up 25 flights would change her entire life. But the best things in life start with impossible challenges, with unexpected kindness, with someone who sees past titles and armor to the person underneath. And sometimes the greatest journey you'll ever take starts with a simple offer. "I could carry you." Because the person who carries you when you're too proud to ask might just be the person you're meant to carry through life together. And that's where our story ends today. What did you think? Did Marlowe and Jackson's stairwell romance touch your heart? Let us know in the comments what your favorite moment was. If you enjoyed this story, we have so many more waiting for you. Check out our playlist for more heartwarming romance tales that will make you believe in love all over again. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. Your support means everything to us. Until next time, Keep believing in love, keep believing in second chances, and remember, the best stories are the ones that remind us we all deserve our happily ever after. See you in the next story.